friends, your buddy, peace and harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is, what does it mean if a psychopath has no conscience? What does this really mean? And I think that's a great question because you need to see it kind of played out in relationships at many different levels, many different ways, to really understand how consciousness and morality manifests itself in everyday life. But before we get started, I just want to give another super huge shout out to those of you who have recently donated to the channel. Thank you so much for your viewership, for tuning in and correcting these issues in your life. I applaud you. I admire you. It's not always easy. It's tough work. It takes a very specific, sharing to kind of relate to what you're going on. And a lot of people do not understand when you're in throes in a relationship with someone who is narcissistic or psychopathic. They just don't get it. They only see what is presented on the outside. All they see is smile for the camera. All they see is these people, looking their finest, looking their best. They don't know what's lurking underneath. And that's the problem with a psychopath, is what you see is not what you get for certain people. So thank you so much for your support, and absolutely positively, we would love to hear from you. If this channel has been a good resource for you, please do feel free to participate and donate at the PayPal Donate Now button. We would love to hear from you as well. So thank you so much for your support. So looking at the female psychopath, or the male psychopath for that matter, lack of conscience. They do not have a conscience. I'll repeat it again. They do not have, they do not possess, they are not thinking with a conscience. A conscience is sort of a built-in ability, wiring within the human mind to have a sense of right or wrong, meaning what is going to hurt another and what is according to social norms. So we have an obeyance, most people, with social norms. In other words, not to commit destruction, hurt, pain, all the negatives, really. If you can just kind of put that into and weave it into that fabric. So having a sense of right or wrong and having this as a boundary. In other words, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to stop there. In other words, going against the law, going against your better, throwing caution to the wind, going past what is right, going past what is what in obedience with social norms. So it's kind of it's a built-in etiquette, if you will. In other words, what you should really sort of gather growing up. In other words, you don't cheat, you don't steal, you don't lie, you play fair, you don't play dirty. Cheaters never win. So all these sort of things that are built in, and we call, once people have this, they're people of integrity. They're people of morality and of ethics. So in other words, they're upstanding. They have a sense of right or wrong, and this then stretches out into their, the overview of, either a mission statement for an organization, how they treat people, how they value people. All this can be felt. So it's a feeling state. And so without conscience means that they don't feel a need to have obedience to this, 24/7. But they know and they realize that when they're in their teens, they have this sense, and this is from study as well as testimony through people that I've worked with, but they become aware that they're not like other people. Especially when it comes to becoming close and having emotional bonds with people. They observe, why are those people holding hands? Why are these people going on a picnic? Why are they, sharing this coffee or this hot chocolate and, taking time to bond? So they observe human behavior, particularly that of attachment, that of bonding, that of connecting. They watch and they pick up little things like an actor who's going to study a character. So they're very studious of people, particularly in the realm of romance, getting intimate, as well as that for getting what they want, i.e. professional status, i.e. income, i.e. shelter, i.e. clothes, food, events, a life, okay? So they become aware that they are not like others, so they become keen observers, and they study and pick up. So it's a very sort of dispassionate, very cold observation that they have of people. They are cold-blooded, meaning a psychopath will describe themselves as having ice water running through their veins. This is what people who are of that ilk, of that nature, what it is. And they also know, should I use this to help me in my profession? Should I use this quote-unquote ability that they feel amongst themselves, that they just don't have the speed bumps? You know, think of morality as like a speed bump. You slow it down. You know what? That wouldn't be right. That wouldn't be cool. That would be against the law. We'll get found out. This is under the table. This is under the radar. You know, these sort of things. It's like people would have a natural speed bump. I'm trying to share this with you so you can relate to it. In other words, you go, you know, that's not right. Let's slow it down. You know, so all these speed bumps, which a psychopath will perceive others as having, and a psychopath will know this, and they will also know that other people, quote unquote, have this weakness. So without those people who are psychopathic, who don't have a conscience, they see how people experience these speed bumps or morality, which keeps them from going to a certain place because they're, well, we got to take into factor this, we should consider this, you know, all these things that people would consider and factor to create an upright, ethical integrity relationship or business or family. You know, they're like, here's the fun, baby. Here's where the fun is. Here's where we're going to get this, you know, here's where we're going to go. So they're like on the jet set. So they're going to do like a parallel without the speed bumps. They don't have any morality. You know, just go in, for example, why have the foreplay? Boom, let's just go for this. These are the people who don't have that relationship. They don't attach to people, okay? They say, why can the psychopath move so freely through all these different relationships? Because they do not attach to people. They might be married, they might have commitments at their workplace, they might have children that you think would be all the makings of a person who is connected. These are all just decoys, planted just to appear as if. Appear as if. They love the appear as if because this gives them a perfect cloak of disguise. This is like, gives them the invisible cloak. It gives them the badge that enters in. Boom. They're in, you know, they're in the building. They're in the relationship. They're in bed with, you know, who they want to get in bed with. And that's literal as well as metaphorical. Meaning, you know, they're with the right people. They're giving these people who they can break them down. Here's your reward. You know, you hear about, you know, big drug being in government, you know, in bed with the government, or, you know, that's a phrase. So you have to understand that this is how these people work, okay? And you can tell this video is for people who have been hurt, abused, and affected, okay, and infected by this. Will take you completely by surprise. You know, you will not see it coming because they are that good. You know, you didn't see it coming because they have a cloak of invisibility without conscious, which means they don't have a speed bump. They're in that parallel line where they're just going to go, 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 go. Take this, take this. Very odd. They will also, you know, without conscious means they will lead a deception. So in other words, they'll leave just enough clues, just enough things to make you turn your head and go, what? What was that? You know, they're the head turners, okay? Turning your head to be like, really? You just did this? Really? You just did that? They will take you by surprise. And it is because they're on this parallel, because they don't have a conscience. They're on a completely different track, but they will kind of show a track to as a completely crafted persona, which is more sophisticated, more in-depth, more detailed than you can comprehend. That's the issue. So they will appear as if, calm, cool, collected, with the house, house on the hill, the house in the cul-de-sac, the kids playing. Oh, look, my kids are with your kids. They're the perfect anecdote. But, once they have you, where they want you on that parallel, which is going all the way just as long as you are, you'll find that they have these inroads, tunnels, which have gotten on their journey, which is without conscious, meaning they will engage in a lot of high-risk behavior. High-risk behavior. And how will that present to you? Violating of boundaries. So, in other words, for example, PDA, gone further. Public displays of affection, a hand here, a hand there, a flash there, looking as if, drawing attention. It's like you're going to see the flashing lights, even though, they've got this sort of alarming beauty, this alarming seduction, alarming intelligence. So these people can absorb and reflect like silly putty. Silly putty was like this little neutral colored beige sort of sticky thing, and you could put it on a newspaper or a comic, and then you'd roll it up and you'd have an exact picture of that comic or newspaper. Do you guys remember that? A psychopath is very much the same way. They can pick up and present to you a completely seamless, airtight seduction or bewitching appearance. So they can appear to be very, very knowledgeable in very superficial ways to get themselves through certain situations so they are undetected. And they have this, it's an uncanny ability to retain specific knowledge for a specific need, and then so they can talk it up after, one night of study, Russian government or specific, areas of interest. They can all of a sudden appear as an expert. So they can just, all of a sudden do this personality shift and then present it with almost a different tone, a different language, a different way that they carry themselves. It's a very dramatic, if you will, sort of metamorphosizing or transforming. So it's like someone you wouldn't even recognize. And then they can, so this once again, they have and then also sort of this sort of unaffected, even after hurting others, they're very unaffected. They just don't get it. They don't feel remorse or regret. These are the big ones. So they've hurt you. They're just sort of there. Should we just continue? In other words, you're like emotionally blown away and they're like, and, they don't retain, they don't have that same connection through relationship. In other words, we've built up a bond. We've built up this, we are invested in each other. They don't have that going on. It ain't happening for these people. They might present it as such. Oh, and they will talk it up, yeah, we'll have this car, this house. We'll make it so your relationship with your wife can be this and your business that. And, there's all this violation in this commitment, this false hope. But it'll be like this illusory, perfect picture, picture perfect. And then all of a sudden, zap. Really? You moved and this happened? Really? You moved and got a new bedroom or a new place because you had plans with this person? And it ain't happening. They have got you good. You've moved, you've left your family, you've abandoned yourself. You've made all these radical life changes because you thought it was like the antidote, the salve for your hurts, and then you've got an even bigger, different hurt now. That is the end product of a relationship with someone who does not have a conscience. They will bewitch, betray, deceive, beguile in an airtight, just, perfectly conned thing. And we're talking about even in businesses, we're talking about professional, we're talking about high-level stuff, as high as it can go, okay? So these are not just these people who, you see incarcerated who have committed these violent things, okay? Those are for somebody, and if you want to watch it, if you want to find a comparison, I would highly recommend I'm not into horror stuff. I don't like to be scared. I like comedy. I like Netflix. I would highly recommend you watch Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile on Netflix. It's the story of, just watch it, okay? I'm not going to give away any stuff about it. Watch that. Watch that, okay? And know that is the severity of what you're dealing with when you're in a relationship with somebody who is psychopathic. You can watch all sorts of stuff on Netflix, even a lot of movies that, you know, it's becoming more of a known topic. I mean, just look at what is happening in the U.S. government right now. Okay, just look. Okay, so I'm not gonna, this is not political. I don't have, but that's just for you. I can't even deduce a conclusion. I'll leave you all to think for yourself. This is meant to be empowering for you, to empower you, because you need to be in touch with and aligned with your personal power. You need to be able to know and live this and be able to discern and detect for yourself. So the lack of conscious, the inability of them to, you know, feel bad or have any regret. So that gives them an ability, okay, meaning a behavior applied to do all sorts of things, say all sorts of things, and do all sorts of things to get what they want. But usually part of the result for them, meaning the end, quote unquote, prize or result, is that there's going to be someone who is hurt or damaged as a result. So there is going to be in their wake people who have been hurt, damaged, ruined, burned to the ground, devastated, demolished, defiled, defamed. You know, notice these things, violating of boundaries and societal norms. Okay, they have a propensity, they don't like to be bored. So you'll see these people like having, you know, very shifty people, moving their desk, moving this, moving that, leaving odd things in their path that make you go, huh, you know. So this lack of conscious means they'll do and leave odd things in the environment. You'll find odd things missing that make you feel like there's something has been tampered with. So a sense of tampering, okay? Tampering with the environment. This is part of, in my viewpoint, a lack of consciousness. You know, why are undergarments in the glove box? Why are pictures moved around? Why, you know, you'll notice very strange things because they don't have decorating in the same way that most people would have like attachment to. A psychopath don't care about all that. They will have things that make you go, huh? H-U-H, what? W-H-A, okay? But when you're in that sort of hyper arousal, that huh will be like combined with a positive. So when you should normally be questioning things, they get you hyper aroused, and that dopamine, that pleasure reward chemical, is like an all-time high. It's like you're always taking hits of dopamine, and then that thing that you should be going, what? You're like, what? You know, you're now gigging and dancing the dance to the psychopath. You are now dancing to an aberrant, perverted song. You know, it is not pretty. It is not funny. It is very lethal, okay? Lethal, look up the word, okay? Poison, you know, the skull and crossbones. Don't drink this, you know. It's got a label on it. It's giving you a warning. Are you looking at the warning? Are you heeding the warning? Are you ignoring the warning? Did you already peel off the sticker of this person and then just give them, you know, full reign, even though they are tainting and toxic? No conscience, okay? No remorse. These people seem unaffected. What does it look like? You know, and there's a fascination. In other words, this person seems to be unruffled when, you know, a lot of other people are ruffled. So they're just sort of like standing there with everything else going on, and they're just sort of thinking and observing. What can I get out of this? How can I loot this person, loot this environment? So you'll find strange things disappearing and strange things appearing, okay? This is what it's part of the deception and getting you, and then reorienting your normal focus to be something else. So there's this almost like a slide. If you were to look back in the day, you know, they had like an image on a projector, and like they would put, you know, something in front of it, and then it would, you know, almost like those, now you've got like virtual reality glasses. OMG, let's hope that doesn't replace everything. Or like those robotic hands, like shaking hands with people. That's really weird. Scary if, you know, these masterminds are going to create this, you know, false reality, virtual reality. Okay, anyway. But remember I don't know, there was something, you know, where you would have this like little film, and then you'd click pictures and you can see through the light, and you'd see different images. I don't remember what that is. Someone's probably going to fill it in. But that is kind of like what a psychopath, they will kind of give you this screen image, which is you're perceiving things through a psychopathic eyes. They cause you to see things differently. It's part of being within them and getting trapped in them like emotional quicksand. I get it. If you've been through this, we are here to help you. So no worries. Don't worry about it. So feeling this and being able to detect it is super important. So that's just a little bit of an example of what a psychopath, how it manifests, how it feels. They don't really have like a startle response. It just ain't coming. You know, they're just sort of, they don't have that where most people would flinch, flail. The psychopath might overreact, so to make you think that they have a startle response. You know, and you're like, wow, that was like a big reaction. Like, you know, so they can put on a show as if they have this, but they will, you know, they will put it on as if, so you're like, oh wow, you're scared just like the rest of us. So they know very, very well how to craft this persona. It's really superhuman, if you will. I will just call it that. Superhuman. You might think of like a superhero, but we're on the other direction of hero, whatever that might be. They're not a superhero. You do have some people who have superhuman qualities, who have done great things, amazing things to help people. This person is like a super, but the antithesis of hero. So fill that blank in for yourself. So you have to understand that it's undetectable. They're very crafty in this way. So the manifestation of not consciousness, which means they have no remorse, no regret. If they hurt, they're not affected. They don't attach and bond with people. They don't connect. It ain't going on there. When a psychopath has dropped their mask, you can feel almost like a cold wind just sort of sucking up in the environment. You can feel an electrical change when you're around them. That's the best way to describe it. So like person who's warm, friendly, positive in the environment, you know, welcoming, safe, you know, okay, that vibe. Okay, you've got that vibe. And then in contrast, when the mask of the psychopath drops, there's this, it's a coldness. Okay, you can feel energetically what this person is made of. Okay, if you've seen the mask drop, okay, that is something you need to understand, that is how lack of conscience manifests in the physical, tangible world. So you kind of know it when you're around it, you know. So you have to realize there's full big spectrum of people. And in terms of warm or cold, you know, this person is off the chart, you know, that we can detect, if you could detect it. So you have to, this is something you know from your heart. This is your instinct. It's something you pick up. So, if you've experienced this, then just say, okay, I have experienced this. You know, this doesn't have to destroy you, terrorize you, keep you. This is what you have encountered. This is what you have occurred. And just know that you then, you know, got to come back, you know, welcome the speed bumps back into your life. Know when to slow it down. Embrace your morality. Embrace your conscience, that warm and fuzzy, that you have a heart. Come back to that. And then know this is your wiring and that is theirs. Their wiring belongs to them. Your wiring belongs to you. Go ahead and let your wiring work for you in the positive, no matter how many wires you have to detangle from this trap that had been laid way out by this type of individual. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help you. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Love you. Embrace you today.